Brother Bob calling from Arizona. He, him. Jimmy on Facebook, stated that God is not loving. That's me. I think I'm Jimmy, the Jimmy he's talking about.
You are a Jimmy on Facebook. We'll have to see.
That's true. But yeah, I would say that I probably said that. So let's talk to Brother Bob.
All right, Brother Bob.
You're on with Jimmy and Scott. How can we help you, sir?
Well, I hope you're having a good day.
I'm having a great time. I love working with Scott, and we've had some good callers. And I'm glad you're here with us. What's up?
Good. Okay, so I was just kind of wanted to, if I could, take time to refute the claims that you kind of made about how God is not loving. I mean, you put quite a few things as to slavery, concubines, burning at the stake, women inferior, all kinds of. So the question that I have is that, you know, when you make the claim about God destroying the Canaanites, do you know why he did it?
I feel like I don't know. I don't know exactly what you're talking about. So why don't you go ahead and just tell me?
Well, the only reason
I don't know that it matters. To be honest with you, I don't know that it matters to me. You know, because for a God to be all loving and then destroy a bunch of people counteracts that love, or it negates that love.
Can I give a quick example? Okay. Can I give a quick example that I counter? Let's say I live in a neighborhood and one of the dogs get loose and he's a pit bull, and all the people in the neighborhood have small children, and that dog goes out and kills one of the children. Would you be an advocate that dog is left alone, or would you want to put him down?
I'd certainly want to get the situation under the control. Look, I don't know that I would want to go out and kill a dog for killing a child. I would control the situation if I could, and I would do what I had to do, but I don't understand what that has to do with God and, let's say, killing the Canaanites, for example, which I don't even know that happened. Archaeology, wouldn't suggest that a large-scale wipeout of the Canaanites actually took place. But from your standpoint, you're saying that God killed the Canaanites, and you have a justification for that. So what is that?
Right. Let me, Brother Bob, sorry to interrupt here. Let me just, are you saying that God might be good and that it might just seem bad to us? Is that what you're saying? God's really doing something that's good, but when we look at it, because of our limited perspective, our limited information, our limited, mental capacity, we just can't understand God's mysterious ways? Is that what you're saying? That it actually was a good thing that God was doing and it just looked evil to us?
Yeah, I would use a little different phrase in it. I would expect it.
Well,
okay, so then, there's a flip side to that question. All of the things that you think God does that are good, then if we are limited and we can't see the outcome, if God oversees everything and knows more than us and has a deeper understanding of consequences and intentions and that kind of thing, if God could be doing something that's really good, but it just looks bad to us, then couldn't God also be doing things that are ultimately evil that just look good to us?
No, well, that's why I was trying to make the basic point about that dog in the neighborhood. I mean, I've got 6 kids. If that dog happened in my neighborhood and they killed one of the neighborhood kids, I would demand they put it down.
All right, but you know what? That is a
children. Hold on, let me just finish the point. You guys like to always interrupt.
I know. I want to get to the point. And that's actually where I was going. So let me just say, Brother Bob, just for a second, let me just say this.
I think you were being disingenuous to say that you wouldn't say, I want that dog out of here. Okay?
All right.
So the same point that takes place in this passage with the Canaanites. The Canaanites were practicing so much evil stuff that they were taking their children and putting them on coals of fires and burning them alive. The town practiced this, that they would ring the bells of the town so that they could not hear the screams of the children. This is just one of the aspects that they did.
Okay.
So if I saw that in my community and people were doing it, I would say, you guys don't deserve to live.
All right. Brother Bob, now it's my turn. Okay, now it's my turn.
Okay.
We have no idea if that story is true. We have no idea if Canaanites were actually doing what the ancient Hebrews said they were doing. This very well could just be propaganda. This very well could just be legend or mythology, because we have absolutely no evidence of the interactions between Israelis and Canaanites other than what's in the Bible. There's very little archaeological record to support the Bible, especially the further back you go. And for you to say, hold on, it's for let's just say that we have no idea what happened. Okay. And let's just say that these people were doing that thing. Okay. How do we determine that God is even real? Let's say people were burning their kids at the stake, or let's say that we don't even know what was happening. Okay. Those are two different scenarios. How do we determine that God is real in either of those scenarios?
Okay, but you're trying to expand it on me. I thought we were trying to discuss this point of love. So, you kind of broaden this instead of saying, hey, let's talk about what the things that you...
Well, that's important. That's important because you're stating this story as fact.
I didn't come on to say I want to prove the existence of God. If I came out...
You stated, listen to me, hold on. You know what, Brother Bob? I'm muting you for a second because you're raising your voice at me, and that's really not called for. You stated a story about Canaanites being wiped out by your God as fact. I don't care if you want to talk about God or love. You made a claim, okay? And what I'm telling you is that what we know as far as the archaeological record is that story has not been verified, okay? There's no way to verify it. We have no idea if that's true. So you are giving me a fictional story to kind of determine whether or not I think what your fictional God is doing is right or wrong. So now we have a bigger problem, right? We have to determine, well, how do we even know that story is true? If that's your criteria for defining love and for defining God as being, if you don't want to prove God, how do you assign the characteristic of love to it? Right? You can't say something's loving, but then say, well, it might not be real. I mean, it's got to be real if it's loving. So anyway, please don't yell at me. I'm trying to have a conversation with you. I don't believe that your story happened, and I have no reason to believe that God is loving, because if God is real and all these stories are real, God's done some really horrible things. You're unmuted. Go ahead, Brother Bob.
All right. Thank you so much. Sorry about the volume. The one that I get at is that in your logic that you've taken here is that you made the case point in this Facebook that all these things were all wrong, so God could not be loving. Now you're questioning if they happened. So it's like you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth. You can't say at one point, oh, God's terrible because he destroyed these people. On the flip side, we don't even know if it's real. The character of God in the Bible is a bad God. Do you think the Joker in Batman is bad? Right? It doesn't mean I think that the Joker is real. It just means I think he's a bad character. The problem I have there, and the claim that I made that God is bad, is that he does all types of horrible things to all kinds of people, and people worship him and call him loving, right? Now, he could be real or he could be just a character, but that would hold true to it no matter what. How did you make this claim that God does all these horrible things to people? How do you know that? I bet you don't believe in God.
I don't believe in God.
We're talking about the character of God in the Bible. Okay. There's a separate conversation about whether or not God is real. We can still discuss the morality or lack thereof of a fictional character. People do it all the time. It's, much of literature is about analyzing fictional characters and then using that to look at ourselves. And so you're saying, so Jimmy said he believes that this God character is not loving and gave a list of reasons why. And you said you were started talking about, well, would you kill a dog if it was going to go kill a child? Well, Yeah, that would be, you could argue at least that would be a good thing to do, or that you could argue that maybe genocide in the case of God had some kind of bigger good thing, good kind of outcome. But by making that claim, you're actually undermining your entire case. You're undermining your entire case that God is good. If we can't judge God based on what we see and what we understand of morality, and we can't make those judgments that God is not loving, we also can't make the judgment that God is loving. So at the very best, what you're accomplishing in here is you're saying human beings just don't understand the situation enough to make that decision. And if you were to prove your case, you would show that maybe Jimmy overstepped by saying that God wasn't loving, but you are also, put that mirror on yourself and look back at yourself. You are also undermining your own claim that God is loving. Because if we can't know because we don't know all of the outcomes, then we can't judge either way. So at best, we're looking for, we don't know that God is good. We don't know that God is not good. We don't know anything about God. Jimmy that's where the does God exist come into play. If we can't reason our way into whether or not God is good based on the stories, because we just don't have enough information about the stories, then the next thing we would do would be to turn to, okay, well, show me God. We can look at God, we can talk to God, we can judge God based off of what we see there. And if we don't have either of those ways, then where does that get you? I would imagine that if I accused you of improperly saying that God was loving, you would probably be defensive about that. You would probably try to argue that, no, God is loving and here's why. But all of those things that you would list on that list of the reasons why God is loving, you have just as much reason to believe that implies your conclusion as Jimmy had when he gave the list of things that evil people do. God does these things, therefore God is evil or not loving.
Yeah,
do you see that connection there?
Let's give Bob a chance to respond. Go ahead, Bob.
Sure.
Can I try? Yeah, thanks. I like it. So one that I like to say is that you said proven that the account is possibly fictional. One, to disprove that it is not fictional, because we see the account that's proven today that the Red Sea, the crossing, is actually a proven factual account. We see.
No, it's not. No, it's not, Bob.
Minor place to cross. Let me finish. Okay, I didn't interrupt. You asked me to complain about me doing it. You got to be fair. So there is a site that you can look up, and it shows the spokes of the chariots that are in the depths of the water that have been left there. There's also on the side of the shore sand that has been burnt. That supposedly the Israelites were led by a pillar of fire, and a scientist said it takes over 300 degrees Celsius to burn sand.
What does that have to do with whether or not the character in the Bible is good or evil?
I don't know. I'm just carrying on. He wanted me to say, hey, I don't even believe that the Canaanites were overtaken by Israel. So that's part of the account, isn't it?
No, it's not. So we have beaten this to death on this show, and I don't want to start ripping this apart. So let me just go back and reiterate what I said. Hold on. Well, let me reiterate what I said. Okay. In the Bible, God kills millions of people with a flood, right? In the Bible, God kills the children of all the firstborn in Egypt. In the Bible, God allows people to be raped. He even allows slavery. He does horrible things to Job. I mean, are you kidding me? He loves Job. In the Bible, God, I can go on, and I have read the Bible. It's been a long time. But when you look at the Bible, you see multiple instances of atrocities being sanctioned by God, being directed by him. And you even started the show with, well, do you know why God killed the Canaanites? I mean, this is God we're talking about. If, let's say, God did kill the Canaanites, and I will reiterate, there is no archaeological record that supports that. But if it did happen, could God not have been powerful enough to sway them without using violence? Could God not have been the one that they worshipped instead of the god Molech that they were burning their children to? I mean, this is all stuff of fantasy, stuff of fiction, and it's not it's not supported by any facts. The chariots, the wagon wheel, the parting of the Red Sea, these are not supported by science, but these are not supported by the scientific method. There's no consensus that happened. I mean, do you think that there are no chariot wheels in the Red Sea? I mean, the explanation is that the Jews left Egypt. Hold on, Bob. There's no evidence that the Jews were even in Egypt in the numbers that they talked about. Where is their garbage? Where are their habitats? Where is the archaeological record that says that? Heck, there's no mention of Israel except for 2 different places that come from hundreds of years apart. And they're referred to as the House of David. It's not even really Israel. So, look, man, this is a large hill to climb. You asked me why I think God is not loving, and God is not loving for the reasons that I gave you. Now, if I want to talk about why God is not real, well, it's not supported by evidence. I mean, that your claim is God is real.
I just don't get this. You guys have talked about 5 times compared to the amount of times I have. And you ask to talk about something, and then you go off on these other things.
You're saying something that needs to be corrected. You're saying something.
Let me finish. I don't get this. God didn't punish Job for what happened in his life. That's not true at all. And when it wound up at
I didn't say he punished him, though. No, Bob, stop. You know what? I'm muting Bob. I'm muting Bob again. So this is why I have to interrupt, because I never said that God was punishing Job for what he did in his life. Okay? That you're changing the context of the conversation. I said God did horrible things to Job. That's accurate. Okay? And I have to keep interjecting because you can't change the course of the conversation. Go ahead, Bob. You're back on.
All right. So would you show me the passage where it says God did all this damage to Job? It does not say that in the Bible. The Bible clearly states that Satan came to God and he asked for permission to cause damage to him. And God said, you can do anything to him, but do not take his life. And at the end of Satan doing all this horrible thing, taking all his children, Job winds up with, I believe, twice as many children as he had before and greater wealth than ever.
Bob, I would not sacrifice my 2 children that I have right now for 4 children later, number 1. Number 2, I would not let my neighbor kill somebody else's children if they promise to give them more children later. For God to allow Satan to do that, God is an accomplice. And this, by the way, this God that you're talking about is the most powerful being in the world. What the hell does he need to prove to Satan?
Okay. For one, you were willing to let your dog live in the neighborhood that was going to potentially kill your kids. And now you're saying, no.
I never said that. Oh, my God.
Never let that.
Bob.
How can he do that? He's so wrong.
Bob, you've done nothing. I'm sorry. You have not accomplished anything. And we are extremely grateful for you to call and to put yourself out there and just have a conversation with us. But I have to admit, this is getting a little bit exhausting. We're not getting anywhere, and we're going to have to move on. So I really appreciate you calling. Thank you so much. Scott, I think we had one more super chat come in.
I believe we have 2 that we haven't gotten to yet. We have a super chat from Ben 9 Lives, a new member, $4.99, $4.99. Thank you for Sunday's weekly church replacement. You're welcome, Ben 9 Lives. We also have a super chat from Coach Frankie, donated $20. All right. Thank you, Coach Frankie. Great job, guys. Love the show. And, we love doing the show. We just, for conversations just like we're having today, it's just been, I know things get contentious, but I think that anytime we have communication between people that disagree, I think that's a good thing. And so I'm happy to have been part of the show. And I'm glad that we've had the callers that we've had.
Yeah. Who did we have today? Mike, Annie, and Brother Bob. Is that it?
Yep.
Yeah. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody who supports the ACA. Scott, thank you so much for joining me today. This was
my pleasure. I had a great
awesome,
time,
dude.